Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we're going to discuss the astrological energies from May 22nd until May 29th, as we have a lot going on this week. Astrologically speaking, the Sun in Gemini trines Pluto. We have a very active Sagittarius full moon that includes Venus conjunct Jupiter. Venus then enters Gemini, followed by Jupiter entering Gemini, plus Mars moves across the solar eclipse degree point of 19 degrees of Aries and then makes an exact conjunction to Chiron. A lot is happening in these energy fields to get you moving. The pulse of life has picked up. You could be feeling that. You could even be feeling the overwhelm. Like all of a sudden there's a lot to do. There's a lot going on. There's more to take care of, more to respond to. The pulse of life has picked up and it's going to continue that way, especially into the second half of this year. This is a week where you could be feeling that transition. You could feel that all of a sudden there's more you need to take care of and more you need to do. There's also more that could feel quite loud, almost like it's grabbing for your attention and pulling you over here and pulling you over there. So keep in mind that as we move into these accelerated energies, we have to remain grounded in our clarity, in our priority, and our own energy practices that bring us back into our body. So this could also be a great time to check in on how you care for your energy on a regular basis. Simply looking at not only food and health choices, but your overall lifestyle of how you move energy. If you're doing enough yoga, if you're exercising as frequently as your body needs you to. And keep that in mind, that you could be feeling like your mind is running rampant. There's so much going through it, but simply doing something that brings you into your physical self is going to not only ground you, it's going to flush out what isn't important and bring you into greater clarity. So as these energies continue to pick up, remember that anything that connects you to your body and your breath is going to beautifully support you and ground you now. We are officially in Gemini season, and it's a big Gemini season because now every planet that moves into Gemini is going to make a trine to Pluto. And we have that unfolding this week in a few instances. So the Sun in Gemini trines Pluto retrograde in Aquarius at 2 degrees 1 minute on May 22nd. This is a transformative energy where that Sun in Gemini is being deeply activated in terms of what is important for you to focus on and what is best for you to choose. And I feel like that's going to be the theme here because the Sun in Gemini trines Pluto. Next, we're going to see Venus trine Pluto and then Jupiter in Gemini trine Pluto. Each of these trines is helping you understand what you have learned and what you've been learning about choices, about your own mental habits, about how you speak, how you communicate, what you focus on, your own internal thought process. The trine to Pluto in Aquarius is upgrading you. And I feel this is going to show you what you've been learning that you no longer want to choose or perpetuate, what you no longer want to do again. And so you could feel something quite powerful surging through you around a choice point, a decision, something that you've been learning through because over the past number of years, we've had numerous retrogrades in Gemini. We've had not only Mercury retrograde in Gemini, Venus was retrograde in Gemini, Mars was retrograde in Gemini. And as you've had to move through things that brought up your choices and what you needed to experience in order to learn from it, these trines to Pluto are going to give you certainty. It's going to show you, I don't need to go through that again. I don't have to go left when I want to go right. I don't need to make that choice again because I learned from it. I learned a lot. Now I'm ready to make a higher choice for my best and highest good that can also feel quite empowering and show you through your own transformational process what you've learned along the way. Each of these trines to Pluto in Aquarius is designed to take you forward and move you into more of the new experiences that you are claiming and you're desiring. And this is getting your mental energies on board with that timeline. This is really feeling something is locking in. Something is becoming clearer to you. And this directly relates to the early degrees of Gemini and the early degrees of Aquarius in your chart, specifically 1 and 2 degrees of Gemini and 1 and 2 degrees of Aquarius. You are being powered up by universal forces, even by your soul's intention to do things differently now. There's a changing of the guard, a changing of direction. There's a lot of empowering change here that's taking you in a new trajectory. And I feel like there could now be choices you're making that are in alignment with this new part of you. When planets trine Pluto, they are ready for the transformation. And because Pluto is retrograde, it's already been in play. It's already something that's been in your awareness, and you're feeling it and seeing it at a deeper level of your being. So allow the transformation to occur. Allow yourself to make a new choice, because it might not feel as scary or as overwhelming. It might even feel like it's right on time. One of the themes of Gemini energy, especially since we are in Gemini season now, is that because it's a sign of duality, there could be dual experiences you need to have in order to see what is the best choice for you. And this can be through the experience of being the student and then the teacher, having a draft version and then a final version, having something that lowers your experience and takes you backwards. Like I'm getting the visual of spiraling back. And then there's this other visual of spiraling forward, because you know you don't have to keep going back in order to learn what you've already learned. And this is a week where something locks in that takes you forward and you're ready for the new. You're ready. Bring it on. I want this new version. I want a new experience. I don't need to keep circling back to whatever those previous versions of safety and security might have represented, to a previous version of self, previous knowledge base, previous consciousness. You're like, okay, I've done that. Now I'm ready for the new. And that's what this energy is. And it's quite empowering and dynamic, because there's a part of you that's 100% committed. And that's something that Pluto wants. Pluto wants you to be all in. And Pluto retrograde in Aquarius wants you to be all in how you're here to be your own energy field that then connects and supports the collective experience. So I feel like this is a time to go for it. Now, we also have the Sagittarius Full Moon occurring at 3 degrees of Sagittarius on May 23rd. And this is a very juicy, exciting energy that also works with the Sun in Gemini trining Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. This is where you're ready to go further, to expand more, to do the big thing, to trust the wild plan, whatever it is that's exciting you about the future and is offering you a new way to create with your energy. There's strong creative forces built into the Sagittarius full moon. There's a willingness to move ahead, to take a risk. There's also some new frontier that you might understand or see. And by new frontier, I mean something that you are visualizing or you're receiving downloads about. This could be certainly in the physical. It could literally be a new place you haven't traveled to before, or that you're learning a new topic that you're ready to dig into. But energetically, the universe is ready for you to expand out into something that is waiting for you, that maybe you've been thinking about and dreaming of, but it could have felt like it wasn't the right time. I feel like the Sagittarius full moon is pulling us into more of what we've been waiting for, because our energy is cleaner and clearer. There's been a lot that's come up this year that required us to dig deep. And it could have been something that you had to really work on. You had to emotionally experience and move through it. We've been in a lot of clearing and purging energies since February. And then the eclipses shifted us. We had to move in a different direction. We had to either pivot or turn 5 degrees to the left or 8 degrees to the right in order to adjust to what is coming in that is brand new, that is offering you more ways to move forward that weren't available before. And this is a Sagittarius full moon where you're going to have more insights, more understanding of what that could be, how to develop and grow something even exponentially. This is a fast-moving energy that could also feel like it's a lot to figure out. So you want to make sure to ground it, to write it down, to keep your lists, jot down those big important energies. But growth is heavily highlighted here. And it's actually based on a new understanding of your gifts, your worthiness, your value, and what you want. So even with the fiery, expansive energy here of the Sagittarius full moon coming in very strongly, we also have a strong emphasis on Taurus energy. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is at 29 degrees of Taurus and is experiencing an exact conjunction with Venus on the same day as this full moon. And both planets, both Venus and Jupiter in Taurus, are sextiling Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees. This is a significant turning point in what you've understood about how you're creating your life. And it's happening at 29 degrees. Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune are all at 29 degrees. There's a big completion, a significant understanding of what you've been learning, perhaps even a new grounded perspective on your manifestation abilities that have made it clear to you where you're no longer going back and you're only going forward with a new grounded self-love. Now, with 3 planets at 29 degrees, it is a graduation point, a mastery, and a completion. And there is a turning of a timeline here that is moving you into something that is more fitting for the long term. And it's connected to your heart. And with Venus in the mix here, with Venus conjunct Jupiter, sextiling Neptune, that is where something feels more personal because Venus is about your personal experiences of finances, creation, love, self-value, self-worth. Something in you is shifting because of what you've previously lived through. And you have new clarity on what you want going forward, as well as where you're rising above and rising up out of something that no longer needs your energy or attention. When Venus is conjunct Jupiter, it's often quite abundant. There are blessings and happiness. Things could feel like they flow in. It's a highly receptive energy as well in Taurus, where you could feel more creative, more alive. You're seeking for something peaceful and harmonious, something that calms you down. This can be wonderful for feeling like you want to enjoy the best in life, like you just want to enjoy the best food or entertainment or conversations. You're ready for wonderful connections. And the feminine energy is highlighted here with Venus conjunct Jupiter, where feminine friendships can flourish. Anything with love or partnerships could feel more grounded and stronger, especially if you've been investing in them. You know, you've really been clear in what you need and what you want to create in your connections and partnerships with others. So this is where the energy of relationships can flourish. And the sextile to Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces is going to feel like the connection flows, like there is energetic support that is just easy and it's not something you have to work through or invest in. This, of course, can also relate to your creative expressions and what you're receiving that feels like it's in flow. It just has this natural ease to it. And this could be a week where you feel alive with that receptive download, with things coming through that you've been waiting for, sort of like, I've just got it. I understand what to do with this, or I have a new inspiration, something I want to make, something I want to trust. Very powerful divine feminine energies with this Sagittarius full moon and this deep connection between Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune. There could be validation here on what you've been trusting. And I'm feeling that the collective energy field is honoring more of their own feminine energies than ever before, where there could be something you're seeing that validates where you've been trusting. You didn't force it. You didn't require it. You didn't try to make something happen. You weren't out there thinking, I have to do it all on my own. There could be a validation that comes through that affirms your own feminine energy, that affirms where you've been softer and lighter is exactly what's been needed. And it could be what you are now integrating going forward, where if you've had experience of perhaps leaning back and not trying to do too much or power through or make it happen, you could have exactly the validation this week that that was the correct approach, that you are supported by the universe, that what you needed has flowed through or showed up because of how you have been in your feminine expressions of being more receptive and allowing. And it's the perfect week to continue in that energy signature. For all the strong masculine astrological energies in place, this is also where the universe is reminding you to stay in balance, to stay in harmony with what is correct for your internal world, and to also be aware of what shows up. Venus conjunct Jupiter sextiling Neptune can be unexpected opportunities, wonderful resources, more coming through with the people you know, the connections you have. There could be something that alleviates a burden, that allows you to remove stress. And we certainly need more of that in our lives. So around this Sagittarius full moon, perhaps you're going to see how you've been doing things differently and that it's been working, but that it's been working by doing less, by stepping back, by allowing and trusting in a whole new way. This can be in small ways and in relational dynamics as well, where perhaps you didn't give your input, or you didn't interfere, or you didn't step in to take charge of something and it worked itself out, or others figured out what they needed to do, or something came through that gave the appropriate message or insight that was needed. So keep in mind, this could be quite reflective, where you're seeing new ways of using your energy that are better for you, that allow you to maintain more detachment and be in observation mode rather than having to rush in to fix things, take care of it, or support others in a way that you're realizing is no longer good for you. Now, right after the Sagittarius full moon, Venus then enters Gemini, and then she will make a trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius at 2 degrees. Relationships are changing. What you thought you wanted is no longer proving to be true. This is a direct reflection of your own ascension process. This is understanding how you've grown and evolved. And this Venus in Gemini trining Pluto retrograde in Aquarius is giving you more insights around what is better for you for the long term, where you are on the same wavelength and connected to people in a way that could be brand new. This could open up more members of your soul tribe, people that you just have things in common with, and it feels so much easier to reach out to them, to connect with them. There isn't as much work involved. This could be showing you as well what is too heavy, what is too stressful, where you don't have answers or solutions for certain areas of your life that previously seemed that they fit you. I feel that this Venus in Gemini is going to be quite significant here, especially as we move into June, because she's going to be a full Venus. And she's in a cycle now that relates directly to what she was undergoing 4 years ago in June 2020. Now we're approaching a full Venus on June 4th at 13 degrees of Gemini, where she's coming to fruition around her own lessons. If you were to look back on the past 4 years and look at what Venus has been teaching you in the areas of self-worth, which includes relationships, finances, how you feel about your creation, how you're able to receive, how your Venus energy is here to be confident in herself and in her needs. There's an energy increasing into June about what has changed for you, what you've been learning, what you've been healing. We're going to talk more about that next week, but I wanted to give you a heads up that Venus entering Gemini is a very big deal because she is full now of experiences, knowledge, information that she's been gathering since June 2020. And that's when she was retrograde in Gemini and made a conjunction to the sun. That was when she was birthing new Venus energy around 14 degrees of Gemini in your chart. Venus was retrograde in Gemini, and there were things to reconsider, to process, to gather more information about how this part of my life has played out, how relationships have shown up, or how I've made money, how I've been using my mind, and how that's been directing me, and where that perhaps has been overworked, fatigued, overthinking, and also disconnected from the heart. Now, 4 years later, Venus is in Gemini and will be making the conjunction to the sun as a full direct Venus at 13 degrees Gemini in your chart. And just like a full moon, she is full of insights, full of energy, full of growth and understanding that is now guiding her forward. And when she makes the conjunction to the sun in Gemini on June 4th, she comes alive with new consciousness, new light, new realizations and understandings of what she's going to choose next. So again, the Gemini areas of your chart are going to be very active here during this particular Gemini season. And there's things coming up that might surprise you around what you've been learning and how you're ready to make a new choice. Now, with that whole theme, Jupiter enters Gemini on May 25th. This occurs at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time, so it could be May 26th for you, depending on where you live. But Jupiter enters Gemini for the first time in 12 years, and this is where life gets busier. Things pick up the pace, and our minds can feel like there's a lot more to think about, to say, to communicate, and to process. I did do a separate podcast episode for you discussing these themes of Jupiter in Gemini, so I'm not going to review all that in our weekly show. But this is also where it's smart to understand what is too much, because Jupiter is actually not strong in Gemini. There's an overload. The ideas, the concepts, what you want can feel too big, and you need more time to organize it, to sit with it, to figure it out. And Gemini doesn't always want to do that. Gemini wants to be on to the next task, moving ahead, jumping in the car and going. And so there could be difficulty slowing down. You could feel so energized by ideas and possibilities. You could feel like you're scattered and you're ready to do all the things. And then you realize my calendar's overbooked. I don't even have a weekend off. I don't have time to breathe. And that's important because Gemini is the first air sign, and it connects directly to our lungs and how we inhale deeply or exhale deeply, or rather, we aren't taking time for that. And we realize I have a shortness of breath. I'm not even allowing my body to receive the nourishment of fresh air. So Jupiter enters Gemini on May 25th and things pick up. Life gets busier. Your daily schedule could feel like there's just a lot going on. But remember to take those intentional pauses, to do the breath work, to allow yourself to inhale deeply where you feel the air going to your belly. Hold it, pause, and then allow it to be released. And all of this, of course, not only helps the body, but it helps the brain. And that's another area of ourselves that Gemini rules. So even though we need to get busy and get going, it's also going to be equally important to slow down, to just stop in the middle of the room and give yourself an opportunity to check in, slow it down, and not allow the busyness or even the mind's desire to keep going to overwhelm you or take on too much. There will be new areas of life grabbing your attention with Jupiter and Gemini. There's going to be more in front of you, more to contemplate, more to figure out. And the irony is that if you don't overthink it, the answer is going to show up. Jupiter brings in ease. Jupiter wants you to flow and have things be clear. And so if you don't overthink it, if you don't try to overcomplicate it, the correct or best answer is going to be more immediate and perhaps easier than you thought. And this could be its own mind game. This could be what's throwing you off, where typically you think, oh, well, I have to go through a lot to find the right answer. I have to research, I have to think it through. And all of a sudden, it's clear and it's known what the best choice is. So invite that into your experience. Allow yourself to have easy solutions, clear directions, very good choices presented. And that could be exactly how Jupiter blessings show up for you. Jupiter in Gemini will also be conjunct Sedna now in Gemini. And I have a separate podcast episode for you discussing Sedna in Gemini. And when Jupiter is conjunct Sedna, especially at 0 degrees, it's a brand new energy. And how I'm feeling it is to be very mindful of what you say and what you talk about, because Sedna represents where we give up our sovereignty and then feel betrayed. So even if you have a lot of ideas going on, a lot of things that you're excited about, maybe don't put that out there. Don't over talk it. Don't overshare, because Jupiter conjunct Sedna can bring up where you have this amazing best idea ever and someone else takes it. This brings up plagiarism. This brings up betrayal and duplications of ideas, as well as duplicity, where you tell someone you trust your greatest idea and what you want to do next, and they say one thing to your face and then do something else behind the scenes. These are the lower expressions of Gemini. It's that two-faced energy. It's people over-talking, over-sharing without any understanding of their own responsibility or lack of integrity. So this would be a cautionary note here to be aware of. Jupiter conjunct Sedna is keep some things close to your chest, keep things private and personal, allow them to develop and to be created on your own terms. Don't give it away, and be very intentional with your word choices and how you speak to others. Jupiter conjunct Sedna in Gemini are both trining Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, and there is a strong focus here on technology, on what is shared on the internet, on social media, anything that's also being created with new technologies that form new experiences. So not only is it AI, but it's virtual realities, cloning, holograms, deep fakes, robots, robotics, anything that's being engineered to artificially duplicate the human experience. There's also a lot of technologies that we're not hearing much about, microbots, digital twins, nanotechnology, all these wireless technologies, and how things are expanding into 7G and beyond. So there's a lot that's growing at a quantum level about our reality, and it's deeply changing us. So you take all of that and you direct it back into Gemini, which is your local environment, your daily communications, how you move about your world on a regular basis. All of that is infiltrating and shifting our daily reality. Yes, it can be really convenient and cool and exciting. It can make things easier, but what are the long-term ramifications? How does it play out over time? And what are we losing along the way? What are we giving up that we're not even aware of in the present moment? These are some of the bigger overarching themes here that are rising up, and it's something that is being experimented with on a regular basis. So with this beneficial focus on Gemini and Aquarius energies in a trine between Jupiter in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius, there's big breakthroughs, great solutions, awesome opportunities. Things show up that are revolutionizing us, that support the human experience, or so we perceive at first. The next great invention, something that connects with millions of people, or that they're excited about, they're happy about. All of that is in the collective energy field into June. And at a personal level, you could absolutely be feeling some level of certainty about what you want to do next, what you want to create and grow, especially in those early degrees of Gemini and Aquarius in your chart. Those two houses are being powerfully connected for you. But as I mentioned with Sedna there, don't give up your sovereignty. And that provides an interesting conundrum when you apply it to technology and data tracking, when you apply it to everything that is under surveillance, that's being monitored, and we might not even know about it. So there is a warning here about what we're doing online, on our phones, through email, through all forms of communications, including social media, and looking at what is a better fit for me and where I want to go. Is it possible to maintain any form of sovereignty within these advancing technologies and everything that is evolving for us that has both pros and cons associated with it? You could feel yourself retracting back from something this week with Mercury and Taurus sextiling Saturn in Pisces at 18 degrees. That is exact on May 27th. You could be looking to do less. You could be looking for something more simple and realizing that it doesn't have to be complicated and that you prefer something more organic or tried and true or more grounded. So Mercury sextiles Saturn May 27th, and this is a good day to be in observation mode and to not force anything. Now, also this week, we have Mars continuing through his home turf of Aries, and Mars will be conjunct the 19-degree point of Aries on May 25th and May 26th. And when Mars is here, there is an ignition that occurs where this is the degree point that we had the April 8th solar eclipse. You'll recall that that was the Sun, Moon, and Chiron all at 19 degrees of Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars. So here comes the ruling planet across that solar eclipse degree point and lights something up. This is where you could finally feel movement, especially because that eclipse occurred during Mercury retrograde. This is where you could feel newly alive and energized, ready to go for it, ready to take something forward that you've perhaps been held back from. There is a fresh inspiration here. Again, it's an ignition of what that solar eclipse brought up for you. And now you could see things that are worth your time, energy, and action. Mars is how we assert ourselves, how we move forward, how we make things happen. And in Aries, he is independent, ready to go for it. He doesn't always think it through. So you could feel like you've been in some form of incubation period. There's things you've had to sit with, had to figure out and understand, perhaps even through trial and error. And now Mars comes through and says, let's go. Let's make it real. Let's move towards it. Let's trust what you're inspired to create. Strong creation energy in Aries, and that is something that Mars is bringing in. Now, a few days later, on May 29th, Mars will be conjunct Chiron in Aries at 22 degrees, and I feel like this is a slowdown. This is where Mars conjunct Aries is make sure you're not moving too fast, that you're allowing for a slowdown or a pause, and that it might not feel natural to be more cautious, but there could be something that interferes and requires a slowdown that actually works in your best and highest good. And I'm getting the visualization of being at a stopped red light, and all of a sudden the light turns green. And so naturally you think, let's go. It's time to move. But something inside you requires a pause, like just wait. And it turns out another vehicle goes through the intersection, ran the red light, and the fact that you paused saved you from an accident, saved you from any kind of collision. And that's something to keep in mind here as Mars is conjunct Chiron in Aries, May 29th and May 30th especially, where for all the ways you're ready to go and you want something to move ahead quickly, this is a slowdown. This is holding back and allowing yourself to listen to the energy and to trust your gut. It's trust your gut energy that prevents something from happening that could be an accident, could be irresponsible, or could be harmful. Chiron in Aries has been teaching us how to listen to our energy at a more personal level. Chiron in Aries is requiring us to do our healing work around our sense of self and how that continues to develop and grow in uncomfortable ways at times, because Chiron wants your vulnerability, wants you to understand the truth of who you are and how you've been showing up. So Chiron in Aries wants you to know yourself more, but outside of the ego's perceptions or outside of anything you have to prove. So that Mars in Aries could be set on, I have to prove this, I have to demonstrate this, I have to be strong, I have to show my confidence and how I'm a winner. And then this conjunction with Chiron in Aries pulls that energy back and could bring up some vulnerability or an area of yourself that's important to be very honest about, very courageous around where you're not as strong or as confident as you'd like to be. And this Mars in Aries has not had a lot of aspects to other planets. He has been a soldier on a mission. He has been in his own energy, doing his own thing. This transiting Mars in Aries could be working with you personally in your own chart, but in terms of where the transiting planets are, he's been a lone wolf, and that's where he excels. And so keep in mind, there could be something this week that shows you where, yes, you can do a lot on your own and that can be perfect. But at the same time, remember that if that's in excess, or if you are too self-involved or self-absorbed to your own detriment, the universe could bring in a message or understanding of that when Mars meets up with Chiron at the end of the month. So overall, it's a very busy week. It's a very dynamic week. You could feel like things are coming alive within you. There's a lot to take care of. There's a lot to move towards. And this can be quite inspiring, especially if the last few months have felt like nothing was happening, or that you weren't able to take steps that you're ready for. Now it's coming in full force. There's a lot that could be showing up at once, and that's certainly because it is a jam-packed Gemini season this year. Speaking of jam-packed, the Midnight Sun Astrology cruise is sold out. The boat is filled, but there is a wait list. So if you have any last-minute change of plans and you were trying to get on that cruise, please reach out to Diane, our awesome travel agent who's taking care of all logistics, and she can let you know when a cabin becomes available on the ship. All the details are at midnightsuncruise.com. I also want to share with you that we had an amazing in-person business development retreat last weekend where we had a very talented group of professionals come together at the Art of Living Retreat Center in Boone, North Carolina. And honestly, it was probably one of the best retreat experiences I've had because we helped so many people own their energy, own their gifts, get in line for what has their name on it. And these are individuals who are here to offer their gifts, their talents, and their business to the world. And that's exactly what this retreat is about. It's professional development based on your energy. It's not based on what everyone else is talking or teaching in terms of traditional business approaches. Yes, that's good to know. But this is the new paradigm. This is the new way that you are here to be successful based on who you are without thinking you have to fit yourself into an older traditional model. So over the course of these 4 days, we covered tons of information that is uniquely based on each person's astrology and human design chart. We gave them information, guidance, yes energy about what is correct for them to trust and to do in a new way. And it was beyond exciting to see how much each person was able to claim more of who they are. We heard so many great testimonials and feedback that this is exactly what people needed. They have clarity. No more overwhelm. They understand how they're designed to be successful. They're ready to step into more of their gifts in a way that's easy and effortless, because this is really the way to go. This is the new energy of the future, and we are living it now. I shared with them, this is how I've built my business. This is the only thing I live by. I only do my business based on my energy. I don't go into what's traditional or what's expected. And trusting that is scary at first. It's very uncertain because you haven't been there before. But this is where the universe is waiting for you. And this is where things show up that you never could have planned, that you never could have expected. So we're having another in-person event in October 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th at the Art of Living Retreat Center, which will be absolutely beautiful in October, especially as the trees change and the foliage becomes bright with all the colors. This retreat sold out very quickly, so I would recommend signing up sooner rather than later if this is on your radar. If you're ready to step into who you really are and how you're here to do business in a way that is correct for you, not based on what everyone tells you, but based on your energy. We already have people signed up for October, and because it will sell out, we will have a waiting list as well. You will also connect with people who get you, who see you, and who want to support your business. We had incredible soul connections, a lot of networking, a lot of exchanging services to become familiar with what other people do so that you can have those word of mouth referrals. So this isn't only about understanding your unique energy, but it's the people you meet who get you, who see you, who also want you to be successful for your gifts and what you're here to do on the planet. So make sure to sign up for this because you deserve to be successful. Make your success a priority and know that what you're doing now is ahead of the curve. This is information that we want people to have so that you're already living it, embodying it, and practicing it on a regular basis, which is essential as the energies are going to shift on the planet, especially through the second half of this decade. It's called Shine Your Success Frequency Business Development Retreat. I'll put the landing page link below the podcast so you can check out all the content we cover, all the topics we dive into, as well as everything you're going to learn and understand about yourself and how much it's going to support you for the long term. That's important to note. This is about your long-term success, working with your energy, honoring it, practicing it so that you are absolutely on the right track, perhaps even for the first time in your life. And then as a result, a lot more becomes easier and simpler for you when you are making this your business plan. So I hope you will join Rob Thomas and I in October so we can help you connect to the success frequency that you naturally are. And then one more thing to quickly share with you is that the introductory astrology course that I offer is open now until June 4th, and it's available for you to sign up and register for. It will close down for most of June to new registrations. So if you're already in the course, you already are going to have access and you'll be able to continue through all the content in that intro course. But just a heads up that it will be closing on June 4th and then it will open up later on in the month. You can find that at mollymccord.online, where I also have all of my other astrological courses and programs available for you. As always, thank you so much for joining me for this weekly podcast. I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday for a new episode. Wishing you a beautiful week ahead as these energies pick up and accelerate. And I also hope that you have some beautiful manifestations with the Sagittarius Full Moon. Wishing you a beautiful week ahead, and I'll see you back here soon.